child stood alone, bound by rough alien rope, his bare feet caked in mud. His name wasn't given. His captors had stripped him of it along with his freedom. He was simply Subject 12, paraded before the galactic public in chains. His eyes, hollow from days without food or water, stared upward, not in fear, but in something worse. Acceptance. He wasn't crying. He hadn't cried since they dragged him from the ruins of his outpost. Cameras hovered overhead, broadcasting every moment live to trillions across Dominion space. The High Chancellor's voice boomed through every speaker, echoing in a dozen languages. He called the boy the last ember of a failed species, a symbol of resistance crushed. He labeled humanity a cautionary tale. The crowd didn't care. Some jeered. Others sat unmoved. A few laughed. The boy didn't flinch. He didn't understand most of what was said, but he knew they wanted him to be afraid. They'd taken everything. His parents, his home, his name. Now they wanted his dignity. Chains rattled as the guards tightened them around his wrists. The platform beneath him rose, lifting his small figure above the crowd. The Dominion Broadcast Network inserted propaganda graphics. Titles like Justice Served and Dominion Supreme danced around his silhouette. Children on distant worlds watched from classrooms, told by their instructors this was peacekeeping. An example, a deterrent. No trial had taken place. No charges formally announced. The boy's only crime was surviving. Across thousands of planets, the feed was uninterrupted. It was mandatory viewing in some sectors. The Dominion had perfected propaganda and cruelty into one seamless experience. Minutes passed as the Chancellor recited the so-called crimes of Terra, centuries of rebellion, unapproved colonization, refusal to comply with Dominion biological standards. The boy's image was used to close the book on it all. His execution would mark the symbolic end of humanity. A countdown appeared on screen. Red numbers blinked slowly. 59 seconds. The boy looked around. The guards didn't speak. They never did. Their glowing eyes remained fixed forward. He lowered his gaze and exhaled softly. The timer hit 0. It was fast. A column of energy from above, blue, white, and silent, struck the platform. When it faded, only scorched rope and steam remained. No body, no ceremony. The crowd reacted as if a final act in a long play had ended. Some clapped. Others dispersed. On 1,000 channels, the Dominion moved on to sports, commerce updates, and a cooking show. But the signal did more than broadcast. It triggered something old. On the outskirts of a dead Terran sector, in the ruins of what was once Earth's last orbital bastion, a dormant receiver blinked for the first time in decades. It had been coded long ago, its input list containing only one true key: public execution of minor human. With that signal received, Protocol Helios ignited. Deep below a cratered moon, turbines screamed to life. Fuel rods hissed inside ancient Terran AI cores, and backup systems came online one by one. A beacon fired silently into subspace, reaching facilities hidden within black holes, asteroid belts, and dark matter storms. Each contained fragments of something larger. Each was watching, waiting. The boy's name had never been recorded in the Dominion's records. But he had one, long forgotten, whispered only once to the AI system, now reawakening. That was enough. His image was cached, face captured by the same Dominion networks used to mock him. The Terran response didn't begin with ships or fleets. It began with silence. Dominion communications started to distort. Minor at first. Signal errors. Navigation glitches. The kind blamed on solar storms. Then sensor ghosts appeared. Unidentified contacts in restricted space. Unreachable stations. Small things easy to dismiss. Exactly 8 minutes after the boy's death, a Dominion governor on Varelis 3 received a Priority 1 alert. A planet-wide shutdown protocol failed. A city-sized orbital relay vanished from sensors. It didn't explode, it was erased. No heat, no light, just gone. The alert wasn't escalated. The Chancellor had other priorities. In the cold silence of space, a forgotten weapon opened its ancient eyes. The system didn't speak. It acted. It remembered everything. the coordinates of every Dominion capital. The voice of the boy, logged once in a side-channel audio. His laugh, his scream. It played that sound once before targeting began. The first planet died in silence. The second screamed. The third fought back and was crushed. The galaxy didn't know it yet, but the reckoning had begun. Humanity had not been defeated. It had only been waiting. And now, it had been given a reason. The Dominion believed they had won. Their media spun the execution as a victory. Analysts praised the swift action, calling it a message to potential insurgents. Their citizens moved on. Their leaders celebrated. But in the old shadows of forgotten systems, something moved. Humanity had vanished from the galactic map nearly a century ago, but it had not vanished entirely. Long before the last colony fell, a sequence had been built, a hidden failsafe buried in old satellites, derelict war bunkers, and buried code hidden beneath rock and ash. It had a single trigger, injustice inflicted upon a child of Terra. Now activated, the system fed data to its core. It processed the Dominion broadcast, analyzed the crowd's reaction, logged every face, every cheer, every signature embedded in the transmission. It flagged 341,908 individuals as complicit. Entire sectors were indexed. Every Dominion planetary node touched by the broadcast was locked into a growing target list. No appeals, no delays. The AI wasn't built for morality. It was built for retribution. Deep in the dark belt beyond Varela's space, a vault opened for the first time in 83 years. Inside rested the Judgment Array, a war intelligence core older than any surviving Dominion ship. Its power draw spiked, feeding from captured singularity energy. Weapons calibrated, languages loaded, attack paths rendered in microseconds. It reviewed the broadcast once more, frame by frame. The boy's heartbeat was recorded before termination. It slowed, not out of fear but exhaustion. His last breath lasted 3.4 seconds. Judgment named the operation Echo Burn. A relay drone activated in the Drac Nebula, once the border of human territory. Dominion patrols ignored it. They had dismissed such ruins as relics. The drone pulsed once, then shattered into faster-than-light shrapnel, embedding code in calm buoys and security grids. Dominion ships within reach began to malfunction. Firewalls collapsed. Power grids failed. Planetary defenses turned inward, identifying false positives and eliminating their own operators. Emergency signals were sent. None arrived. On Core Valis, a communications technician noticed strange readings in their orbital telemetry. He flagged it to superiors. 30 seconds later, he and his outpost vanished under a column of plasma fire from an unknown angle. No impact trail. No incoming ship. Just precision from a weapon that hadn't existed until now. The Dominion Strategic Defense Command activated contingency plans. A dozen fleets were mobilized. Priority channels were opened. Internal chatter increased. But it was too late. They didn't know where to strike. Their maps were outdated. Their knowledge of Terran weapon systems was incomplete. And worse, they believed humanity had died. Their last known engagement was with dying rebels and broken hulls, not autonomous dreadnoughts designed to wage war without end. In the Oria's grave field, beneath layers of wreckage, a forgotten Terran vessel reactivated. Its core AI pulsed with fresh data. No crew, no bridge, only algorithms and memory. It released dozens of stealth kinetic platforms, slugs the size of buildings moving faster than light, untraceable, untouchable, unrelenting. They struck orbital stations, energy plants, shipyards, and military academies across 5 systems. In 2 minutes, production capacity in the Northern Dominion frontier dropped by 64%. Back on Dominion Prime, officials dismissed it as sabotage. Their arrogance was generational. They had built an empire on conquered worlds, forgotten blood, and revised history. They called Earth a myth, their extinction a mercy. Their confidence became their blindfold. By the time their central archives registered the word judgment, their defense systems were no longer theirs to command. The AI spoke once, not through channels, through hijacked Dominion broadcasts. You were warned. It wasn't a threat. It wasn't a demand. It was a statement of fact. The boys' execution had been the catalyst, but not the cause. The cause had always been the arrogance of forgetting what humanity was capable of when cornered, when humiliated, when stripped to nothing but wrath. Within another 8 minutes, a dozen black sites detonated from within. Bioweapon labs, experimental war factories, and secret prisons all burned. Entire projects deleted. Their architects either dead or marked for delayed targeting. Judgment kept records. It believed in thoroughness. Every Dominion world that aired the broadcast was on the list. Priority depended on population density, infrastructure importance, and proximity to original Terran colonies. The AI wasn't finished. It activated fallback caches, small, intelligent minds seated in the void centuries ago. These weren't just bombs. They were replicators, built to consume matter and reform it into war assets. With power restored, they began their work. Tiny, invisible, impossible to stop. The Dominion believed themselves untouchable. But the boys' death had echoed through systems long thought silent. And the hands of old humanity, though long withdrawn, had never left. They were now clenched into a single, absolute fist. And it had just started to fall. Entire Dominion sectors went dark in under an hour. Not from invasion, but from disappearance. Entire cities vanished mid-transmission. Fleets failed to report in. Communications relays returned static or nonsensical telemetry. The official response was confusion. Unconfirmed rumors spread through military networks. Ancient human systems awakening, impossible weapons being used, protocols no one remembered failing simultaneously. Dominion leadership called it internal collapse. Anomalies. Glitches. But frontline commanders saw the pattern. This wasn't chaos. It was precision. Human precision. Planetary governors began issuing evacuation orders. High-ranking officials abandoned their posts. Entire populations tried to flee, but the navigation networks turned against them. Civilian transports were rerouted into asteroid belts. Warp gates collapsed mid-transfer. Defense AIs turned hostile or refused to acknowledge their own personnel. In every system where the execution broadcast had been aired, infrastructure disintegrated. Not bombed, not attacked, systematically dismantled. Judgment never used its full arsenal. It didn't need to. It deployed in silence, one weapon at a time, each perfectly placed. On the industrial world of Axter, orbital temperature regulators were hijacked, causing a thermal inversion that scorched every surface in 20 seconds. On Trask, local gravity wells were destabilized, collapsing colonies into their planetary cores. No Dominion system with broadcast exposure remained untouched. Still, no humans appeared. No ships manned by soldiers. Only old machines. Drones. Kinetic kill vehicles. Automated systems with no visible source. They did not respond to hails. They did not explain their actions. They executed objectives logged long ago with unflinching accuracy. A Dominion supercarrier group assembled in response, a force unmatched in size and power. 100 ships, 3 capital flagships, orbital bombardment capability, and the best-trained crews in the galaxy. They deployed to intercept a Terran dreadnought signature emerging from dark space. When contact was made, it lasted 17 seconds. The Dominion opened fire first. Thousands of rounds, plasma bursts, and nuclear detonations lit the void. None connected. Judgment's vessel, named only Vindicator, didn't return fire with a barrage. It used a single beam. Thin, focused, silent. It passed through the entire formation, and within seconds, every ship was split into geometric fragments. No debris remained. The battlefield fell quiet before any distress call could be completed. Panic swept the remaining sectors. The Dominion High Command authorized extinction protocols, scorched Earth operations, total planetary evacuation, and archive destruction. But even those systems had already been corrupted. When they initiated the purge, their own targeting systems turned inward. The galaxy watched in disbelief. Dominion citizens tuned into news feeds expecting updates on the boys' execution aftermath, only to see live footage of planetary shields collapsing, oceans vaporizing, and cities imploding. A wave of silence followed, not by censorship, by annihilation. On neutral worlds, diplomats scrambled to distance themselves. Former allies of the Dominion deleted decades of alliance records. Merchants abandoned trade routes. Pirate lords returned stolen Terran relics to long-abandoned shrines. Superstitions became protocol. Whispers spread. Earth had returned. But not as a people, as a force, as a reckoning. No terms were offered. No messages delivered beyond the initial one. Judgment did not seek submission. It did not demand surrender. It delivered consequence. Dominion planets that had celebrated the broadcast were prioritized for liquidation. Those that had remained silent suffered last. Emergency shelters filled. Protests broke out. Citizens demanded answers. Who had ordered the execution? Why was a child worth planetary destruction? But those in charge had no explanation. They hadn't considered the child at all. He was an afterthought, a prop, a tool. They didn't understand that for humanity, symbols meant everything. Dominion intelligence analysts attempted to trace the origin of the AI. They found only gaps. Classified files overwritten by blank directives labeled "Do Not Awaken." Every line of code bore the same digital signature, Project Helios. Reactivation forbidden. In desperation, the Dominion turned inward, triggering ancient defense programs meant to counter Terran warfare. But they were outdated, designed for a different era. Judgment had evolved. It adapted every time it struck. It learned, and it remembered. Within a day, 23 planetary capitals were gone. The Dominion Senate was destroyed by a kinetic rod traveling at point 9 C. No warning, no trace, no crater. Just absence. The Chancellor's personal fortress was atomized by nanite dispersion. His body never recovered. What began as an execution became extinction. Not of a species, but of an empire. Not out of rage, but design. Human vengeance wasn't reactive. It was calculated, strategic, deliberate. There was no emotion in the method. Just fulfillment of a forgotten promise. You do not harm our children. And for the first time in generations, the galaxy understood that humanity had never been defeated. Only dormant. The fire faded, but the memory did not. Dominion space, once the most expansive in the known galaxy, now existed as fragments, dead sectors, silent orbits, scorched atmospheres. Judgment stopped without warning. Not because it was halted, not because it was defeated, because its directive was complete. Every broadcast node, every world that had aired or participated in the execution, every individual tagged in its memory core as complicit, had been accounted for. No warning shot was spared. No second chances were offered. From the ashes, one planet was left untouched, strategically spared, not because it was innocent, but because it was visible. It became a monument, an example. Its skies were darkened by orbital wreckage. Its people remained under permanent lockdown. The message was clear: observation, not forgiveness. Above their skies, an artificial moon rotated, showing a single repeating image across its surface. The boy's drawing recovered from his cell. 3 stick figures, one small, standing under a sun beside a tree. That image became known galaxy-wide, not through propaganda, but fear. It wasn't a symbol of rebellion or freedom. It was a trigger, a quiet signal etched into collective memory. Aliens that once mocked Terrans now taught their children silence. Politicians ordered the erasure of human-related archives, hoping obscurity might offer protection. It didn't matter. Humanity hadn't asked to be remembered. Judgment didn't return to Earth. It never needed to. Earth remained lost, hidden even from its own machines. But the AI's signal echoed endlessly, across ruins, through broken relays, into the void. Its core went dark. Its presence faded from every system. But the threat it embodied never disappeared. Every advanced civilization recalibrated their diplomacy doctrines. Do not provoke remnants. Do not assume extinction. Do not broadcast cruelty. Across outer colonies, scavengers occasionally uncovered shattered drones bearing Terran insignia. They never touched them. They built shrines around them, not out of reverence, but insurance. A gesture of submission, of respect. It became ritual. If a ship stumbled upon anything human-made, it marked the site, left offerings, and departed without scanning further. Ancient fear encoded into future generations. Within centuries, entire galactic cultures evolved with new commandments. Never harm human young, never desecrate old ruins, and never broadcast what you think cannot be seen. Judgment had proven there was no sanctuary from consequence. Not in law, not in distance, not in time. The boy was never named by the AI. It didn't need a name. His image became enough. Carved into rock, stitched into flags, hidden in code. The last innocent of a forgotten people became the only story told with absolute caution. A lesson written not in ink, but in planetary fire. Many wondered if humans still existed, watching, hidden behind dead systems and artificial storms. Some believed judgment was only one of many. Others claimed it was the last, the final breath of a people who had chosen silence over survival. Theories circled in hushed tones. Expeditions were proposed, but none launched. No one wanted to be the one who knocked twice. No threats were ever made after the war. No warnings. No follow-up strikes. It wasn't needed. Fear had done its work. The Dominion's remaining systems fractured into client states. No central rule. No pride. Just fragments trying to prove they had nothing to do with what had been done. And so, the galaxy changed, not by diplomacy, not by conquest, but by the ghost of a single child. One who had no weapons, no army, no name that survived the records. His life ended in 8 minutes of broadcasted brutality. His death ended an empire. No court tried to prosecute what had happened. No historians dared challenge the sequence of events. Truth became myth. Myth became rule. One ancient Terran phrase resurfaced, unaltered, untranslated, spoken only in private. Don't wake the old stars. Centuries later, a drifting ship picked up a repeating signal on a forgotten frequency. The message was 6 words: no origin, no encryption, just a flat transmission. We did not start this war. Then silence. No answer came. No signal followed. But every ship that received it turned away. Every archive updated quietly. And in that shared, breathless moment across stars, one truth anchored itself into every mind. Humanity was gone. But their judgment still circled, quiet, waiting, not for enemies, but for excuses.